Hello, travel biz owner. Welcome to my corner of the travel industry, the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. If you're ready to have fun, be inspired, get clarity, and take action in your travel business, then you're in the right place. Let's jump in. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Rita here, your hostess with the mostest. I am currently in the middle of the Caribbean somewhere, depending on when you're listening to this also. So if you've been wondering, if you've sent me an email recently and you're like, why hasn't Rita answered me back? It's because I've been on vacation. I had my birthday earlier this week, and I am just really enjoying unplugging while I'm on vacation. So bear with me. I will be back on Tuesday, May 27th to answer any of the messages that you might have left for me while I've been gone. And also, little request for you. I am looking for some feedback. And so I'm going to link that up in the show description. I've gotten a couple of responses, but I would really love some more. This is kind of like my annual feedback form that I do every year. I'll most likely be conducting a focus group at some point, I think in June this year, so just bumping it up by a little bit. But the focus group, or the survey, or the feedback form survey, kind of helps me gauge some of the things that we need to be talking about at the focus group. And at the focus group, you can let me know a couple of different things that are kind of like ringing in your head. I know a lot of the advisors that participated in the focus group last year said that they were so appreciative to be heard on what they needed for their businesses. And that's really what the feedback form is on, to like really gauge what is it right now in your business that you're needing, so that I can focus a little bit more of my efforts on what I do best and tailor that to some of the things that you are needing as well. So would really, really, really appreciate your feedback on that form, please, and thank you. So I wanted to do something a little bit fun this week, and this episode was actually inspired by one of the podcast mentors that I listened to, who did their own 7 deadly sins, but for podcasting. And so that got me thinking, I'm like, what are some of the deadly sins when it comes to being a travel agency owner? And I definitely was trying to utilize ChatGPT when it came to being a little bit clever and coming up with this. And it kind of just wanted to plagiarize my podcast mentors episode. So I was like, we're not going to do that. So I kind of put together my own list and then just had ChatGPT give me some cool little one-liner words, because I didn't want to use the same deadly sins that you might know, like gluttony, greed, and all that. So we're going to do something a little bit differently and tailor them specifically to some of the biggest sins that I see happening in the travel agency industry. So let's dig in a little bit, have fun with me, and hopefully this also gives you a boost if you've been stuck in a rut just a little bit. So the first deadly sin of being a travel agency owner is silence. Okay, I'm here. I was like, oh, that would be cool just to leave a little bit of a pause there. It is not using your voice. It is waiting for things to happen for you and to you, and you not being proactive enough to make them happen. You have all the power within you. You have everything within you that you need to be successful in this business. Sure, you can hire on different things, pieces of technology, do the automations and everything, but I don't want you to forget about 2 important things. 1 is your voice, and 2 is your intuition and trusting yourself and being comfortable that whatever decision you make within your business, if it goes amazing, fantastic. If it doesn't go so amazing, that is a learning opportunity, and you know for next time what needs to be adjusted within your business so that you can avoid it or you can improve whatever outcome. So I don't want you to be, this is also kind of goes in with the fear, whether it's fear of failure or fear of success. Like, I don't want you to be fearful of making decisions in your business. And I know sometimes that's easier said than done. So you have to start off with a couple of baby steps, but being able to trust that intuition, being able to trust that whatever decision you've made is going to be the right decision in the moment that you've made it. And that you also have the capacity to fix something if it doesn't go exactly your way. Going back to your voice, this is just something that I see so often. Actually, one of my coaching clients, and you know who you are, so if you hear me, I'm not going to out you, but we had a session a couple weeks ago where we were talking about their social media plan. And I go looking over their feed real quick because I know that they're using a couple different tools. And I'm like, does this caption sound like you? Like, does this sound how you would speak to somebody? Knowing myself that this is not, but I have to be a little bit curious with that too. And so being able to utilize your voice, not only in making sure that everything sounds exactly like you, but harnessing your voice to ask exactly for what it is that you need in your business. I know this is something that was like very difficult for me. And like sometimes it's still a little bit difficult for me. That's a muscle that I have to flex a little bit. But I am more unafraid now than I used to be because I have utilized my voice and I have said, hey, I'm thinking about this idea. What do you think about it? And then some other amazing people kind of go with my what I'm going to call my brilliant ideas. And it goes well and things happen and it's amazing. But none of that would have been possible had I not thought of an idea, had I not opened my mouth to mention like, hey, I think I could improve things this way for you or help you out in this way. So you've got to use your voice. Closed mouths do not get fed. And so if you are wondering why nobody's been booking with you recently, if you've been wondering like why you've been doing all these things and still the results that you're wanting to have aren't coming to fruition, I would evaluate how you have been using your voice. Have you been using it loud enough? Have you been using it in as many spaces? Like, this is really, you need to be seen and you need to be proactive. Do not wait around for things to happen. Like, you are the captain of your destiny. So silence, we don't know her. There is a time and place for silence, but it is not here when we need to make things happen for your business. The second deadly sin is dependence. And this kind of goes back to what I was mentioning a couple weeks ago in the Travel Tech Audio Summit. You are relying too much on other people to pave your way. And now I'm kind of seeing where some of these kind of weave into each other. Specifically, you are relying too much on supplier content for your own marketing needs. And this needs to stop. If there's no branding on some of these assets, perfect. You can go ahead and use it. I gave you permission. But if any of the graphics, if anything mentions a different cruise line, a different tour operator, something that is not you and your brand, it is not branded to you and your brand, we've got to stop doing this. You are an independent business owner. You don't work for anybody else. You work with some of these companies, but these companies, while they do pay you, you are not on their payroll. Meaning you are not collecting a paycheck every single week because you have done marketing for their business. Because are they marketing for your business? No. They're not going to be marketing for ABC Travel Company. Now, are there ways that you can get like co-op marketing from some of their business? There sure are. And yes, definitely use that. But you cannot be reliant on the resources that suppliers give you to sell your business. Their brand is going to be completely different, maybe aligned, but it's not going to be your brand. The services that you offer are not the same as the services that they offer. When somebody is coming to book with you, they're booking for your unique viewpoint on something. They know that you can get them from point A to point B. They also know that the supplier can do this too, but the reason that they're working with a professional is because of that professional insight. They don't want to book travel themselves. If they did, they could just go on their supplier's website and do it themselves. They came to you because you're helping them save time. You're helping them be more strategic when it comes to their business plans. You know a lot of the ins and outs when it comes to travel. You also have amazing relationships with your partner that can get special things that they can't get on their own. This is why they're working with you. So these are the things that you need to showcase when it comes to your marketing. Stop marketing other brands' businesses. They're not yours, and they're not doing the same thing in return. Unless, again, it's like a co-branded and they're at a trade show with you or something like that. But even then, they're still doing it on behalf of their brand. So I need you to stop depending on supplier content and be more reliant on you and your talents and your gifts and really showcase that to your clients. Number 3 of the 7 deadly sins is avoidance, which is coinkydink because we've been talking a lot about tech these past couple of weeks. And that's really the overall theme of avoidance, is that you're avoiding using technology. And I don't mean like you specifically. I mean people who are committing these deadly sins. This is if somebody is not having the growth in their travel business, I can probably figure out why they're not expecting or why they're not having growth within their business according to one of these deadly sins within your business. Avoiding using technology is definitely one of them, because I'm sorry, it is not a badge of honor to say that I work 17 hours today. It is not a badge of honor to say that you worked 7 days a week. Maybe it is. Maybe it is to you. It's not a badge of honor to me. I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing that you work 7. No, you're never going to get that from me, especially as somebody who deals with chronic illness. That's just not possible in my world, nor do I want it to be my world. I do not want to be working 7 days a week. I do not want to be working most of the day either. And you shouldn't either, because business, like the reason that you got into business, many of you say freedom, I say peace. And my definition of peace doesn't mean that I'm working all the time. And I'm going to think that your definition of peace means the same thing. So when I say avoidance is a deadly sin, it's because you're not using technology to help you work faster, to help you work bigger, to help you work more. It seems like you're working more, but you're working less because you're leveraging technology. Whether that's leveraging automations and workflows and task lists within your CRM or your itinerary builder. I would even say like some of these things are in your email service platform. If you're doing lead magnets, getting people set up into your email service provider so that you can send them weekly or monthly newsletters. I even believe like part of this is like your inquiry form, making that an easy process. Having people get scheduled on your calendar with a calendar link, that's an easy process to set up. All these little things, yes, these can take like just a couple minutes to do manually, but those minutes are going to add up, especially when you are working with big clients, like bigger groups, especially when you're working with high net worth individuals who expect a lot of your time and want you to be more available. You can't do it all. Well, I guess you could, but you should not be doing this all on your own. And I say this a lot too in the terms of like brain space and bandwidth. If you're able to leverage technology in a very strategic way, you're able to breathe a little bit easier because it's not all reliant and dependent on you. So yeah, that's going to be my third deadly sin. Not using any sorts of automation, if you're not leaning in on AI, and specifically when it comes to, there's a lot of different ways that you can leverage AI, but I think about repurposing content. You are sometimes spinning the wheels because you think you have to create new content all the time, and you do not have to create new content all the time. There are lots of different technologies that you can use. Plug here, Cruise Content Library. But there are AI tools that are out there that you can repurpose. This is why I focus so heavily on getting you to first do one big juicy piece of content, one macro piece of content, and repurposing that into lots of smaller different pieces, because you just have to put all of your effort one time into one piece of content and then get like 10 different smaller pieces of content, and it becomes so much easier if you're using tech tools to use this. So please stop avoiding leaning on the technology. Number 4 deadly sin is generality. It shouldn't be a surprise if you've been following me for a little bit. Generality for me means you are not being specific enough. And again, if you've been following me for quite some time, you know that I labeled last year as the year of specificity. Clients and consumers are just so much more sophisticated nowadays. They can spot a snake oil salesman. They can also tell if you know your stuff or if you don't know your stuff. So it is not enough. We're done with saying that you're in the travel business because you love to travel. We've got to knock that one out, because everybody loves to travel, or there's a lot of people that love to travel, but there's not a lot of people that love to travel and also have a travel business. There's something that distinguishes you from those that just love to travel and those that took their passion for travel an extra step. And you've got to do a little bit of onion layer exercise here to figure out what that is, because that is what's going to speak to clients. Telling your clients that, oh my gosh, I love to travel, so I'd love to plan your trip. Okay, I don't care. Why? That doesn't, there's no whiffum. There's no what's in it for me that your clients are going to be vested in. So what is it, really looking from your client's perspective? What is it specifically about you that makes you unique and makes you different? What makes your worldview a little bit different? So, and I know there's a lot of different advisors that I work with, a lot in the empty nester phase. There's a couple that are teachers. I've got a lot with special needs or have some sort of handle on special needs. Those are all things that make you very unique and very specific, because there's a certain set of challenges that comes with each of these different types of people. And because you've experienced this yourself, or because you have knowledge of these different areas, you're able to stand out a lot more when you lean in on that than just saying, I love to travel. Whoa, I don't like it. We're going to stop doing that. Also, I've been preaching this quite a bunch. You don't need to justify why you're a travel advisor. You don't need to justify why people need to work with a travel advisor. We're also done with that. No other professions are doing this. You don't need to do this. What you need to be doing is showing specifically how working with a travel advisor is different than planning a trip on your own. So it can differentiate with a traveler that wants to go on the trip coming up. They're able to identify really quick why they should be working with you or why they shouldn't be working with you, because it works both ways and you want to make sure that the right people are working with you. The sin of generality also counts when it comes to diluting what you are doing. This is actually something that I am personally working through, and I'm really hoping that on vacation I get a couple of revelations about this, is that you can't be all things to everyone, nor do you want to be. And I'm sure saying this out loud, you're like, yeah, I do, Rita. I do want to be all things to everybody. But when it comes down to it, I know if I say, do you want to plan a Disney trip? There's a bunch of you that just shirked. And you're like, oh no, oh no. If I told you, do you want to work with families with small children? Same thing. I'm going to get the same visceral reaction. If I mentioned, do you only want to plan cruises? I'm sure there's a bunch of you that are just like, oh, ew, gross, cruising, no thanks. On the other side of that, there's a lot of you that got really excited when I mentioned these different types of niches. And so that's what I'm saying, is that if you are trying to talk to everyone about every destination, no one's going to be able to figure out what they should be going to you for. So you need to have these certain marketing messages that are tailored to the type of people that you want to be working with, to plan the types of trips that you want to be working with. Because, and I was teaching a masterclass last week with a host agency. You can say that you specialize in luxury travel, but luxury travel is going to mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Luxury travel to somebody can just be getting on a cruise. Doesn't matter what kind of ship, just being able to go on a cruise is a luxury. Luxury can be being on one of the suite decks on one of the mass market cruises. Being in luxury can be sailing on a luxury smaller ship. So luxury has different definitions, and that's why I'm like, generality is a sin, because if you just put a blanket statement out there, it's going to be much harder for people to self-identify if you're the right one that they need to be, especially for something that's so personal as planning travel. Because I think of like the local plumber. I guess like it could be fun to get personal branding from a local plumber, but really you have an issue within your house. You probably don't care too much about the other things. You just need the plumbing issue to get fixed. Travel is not the same problem as some of these household problems are. The fifth deadly sin is neglect. And I feel like this is a pretty common one, very unfortunately. And there's certain marketing and agencies out there that make this a little bit more prevalent nowadays. And when I mean neglect, it's that you're neglecting your business because you are not treating your business like a business. I'm gonna let that soak in a little bit. I recently had seen a post that somebody had shared about a travel advisor saying their clients always get gifts. Even if I lose out on money, they will always get a gift. And thankfully, there were so many people that were in the comments that's like, then you have a very expensive hobby. You do not have a business. And I had to concur with that. Like, why are you in business to lose money? You're not in business then. That was ridiculous to me when I saw that. I can't believe in 2025 that a travel advisor would say something like that. You have a travel hobby. You should not even be calling yourself a travel advisor because you are cheapening the career for other travel advisors. Point blank. Now, I know a lot of you are not in that same vein, but you are still thinking like a hobbyist. You're not thinking like everything depends on the success of your business. And I know that's kind of like a strong phrase too, but I know myself when I was working my full-time job versus now that my businesses are my full-time job, if I'm not working and if I'm not generating revenue, there's red alerts all over the place for me. And that's the difference. Like, I want you to be able to get to a point, if that is your goal, to quit your full-time job and focus on your business. I want you to get to that point where you're like slowly starting to like develop this business owner mindset, this CEO mindset, because I know it does take a little bit. But if I had a full-time job, I would still be doing things a lot differently. I wouldn't be playing as big and as hard as I am right now, because I would still know, like, it's okay. I don't need to have that income from the business because my full-time job is going to give me the income. It's that security that can sometimes keep us stuck. I'm also not saying that you should make an irresponsible decision. So please also note that. But we need to think like everything is on the line. Like our next mortgage payment, our next vacation payment, the next private school payments for your kids. Everything's on the line if you are not actively selling travel. And this goes a lot with silence, because I feel like a lot of people who don't have to depend on agency income are a little bit silent because they can be silent because they have income coming from somewhere else. And so we've got to get out of this, and you've got to start thinking, if you are not making money within the travel business, then why are you doing this? If you just want to be a travel hobbyist, I don't like that answer, but be a travel hobbyist. Don't call yourself a travel advisor. Get your little discounts here and there and whatever. But you've got to start treating this as a business. And if your books are more in the red than that they're in the black, in the green, in the black, whatever, all these colors, something's got to change. And you've got to be proactive of something changing within your business. Because your little baby business, your medium business, your big business, however you see your business right now, it is starving. It is starving for attention, and it's like a little plant. You've got to water the plant. You've got to provide light for the plant so that it survives and it's its own living, breathing entity. If it's taking too much of the nutrients and it's not getting nutrients replaced, that plant starts to die. And as somebody who does not have a green thumb most of the time, I completely understand with that. So what are you doing to make sure that you're consistently producing income for your business, or at least consistently working on producing income for your business? So it can be through emails, it can be through social media, but you know me, I'm a huge fan of relationship marketing, getting to meet other people. I think that these types of relationships and partnerships can get you much further. It's a slow burn, but it will, like, once it picks up, it is pretty fast. So being able to lean in and utilizing your voice to get the things that you and your business needs, we've got to change that, flip that switch. The number 6 deadly sin is complacency. You're relying, and again, this might not be you, but you're relying on only one thing to do something for your business. And when I think of this, I'm like, you're only relying on Facebook to help grow your business, or you're only relying on your YouTube videos to grow your business. And in this day and age, especially if you want to grow your business in the digital world, you've got to have a multi-channel approach. And this is where that technology piece comes in, so that you can repurpose content multiple different ways, and it's not just reliant on one platform. This also makes me think about referrals, because I know a lot of you are like, I don't need to find new business out there. I have so many referrals. But referrals is a passive way of making income. It is not a proactive way. You are reliant on other people to spread your good name. And yes, I know that works for many people, but I am very dead set that you should always be working on building your network. And this is whether this is like referral partners or if this is of clients, you need to not be stagnant. This is really what this 6th deadly sin is all about, is that you need to be always looking to innovate, be doing things differently. If things haven't been working, why are you still being complacent? You need to do something different. There's that quote, and I love, and I'm pretty sure it's from Maya Angelou. If things aren't changing, you've got to make the change. Like, you can either stay this way and hope that something changes, or you can be the change and make the change happen. So why are we just being complacent that things are this way and this is going to be the way that they're going to be? No, it is time to do something different and put your efforts maybe in something else. Maybe you don't want to stop what it is that's not working for you, but maybe you dabble in something else to see if it can also help or also boost. But yeah, the multi-channel approach when it comes to marketing is going to be so incredibly valuable now, especially in the day of AI, where AI is doing a lot of I think I was reading something that was saying that the different generations use AI for different things, but for was it the older or the younger? Now I can't remember. I think it's Gen Zers. They're using it more as a search engine. So if you were reliant on Google for so long, like many content creators had been, this is why it's important to have that multi-channel approach, because now you have to be a little more active on social media. Now you may need to be a little bit more active on YouTube, but also not starting from square one, being able to repurpose content that you already have so it feeds, so that it breeds really well, so that you can have bigger reach on these different platforms to get you that multi-channel approach. Because in 2025 and beyond, it's not just one thing that's going to be make or break. I know that used to be the thing maybe 5+ years ago, that yes, I make all my money doing this, or I make all my money doing that. And I'm sure people who have been doing this for a while, that's the case for them. But you do need to be in multiple different places at the same time. We can't just rely on one lead generation outlet or one nurturing sequence. There has to be multiple things that are at place here. And then the number 7 deadly sin is invisibility. You are hiding. You're not sharing your story. You're not sharing your personal experiences. And you're not sharing your face. And I know a lot of that comes down to confidence. And why would even people care about listening to your story? But you don't know the types of connections and relationships that you can make until you share your story. People are going to care. People are going to want to be invested. I mean, how many people are you vested in social media these days? And I know I don't follow any models on social media myself. I like it when people show up just as they are. I love it. If you've got makeup on, great. If you don't have makeup on, great. You showed up. You're telling me something interesting. You're sharing your story, your life for me. That connects me more with a lot of small business owners. And I know some people might be thinking, yeah, but all the big box like Target and like Amazon and things like that, you are not, humbly, respectfully, you are not on that level, friend. You are not a Target. You are not an Amazon. And, if I'm going to be talking to you personally, I don't want to be on that level either. So this may be something that you are interested in doing and becoming like the travel agency that's like Target or Amazon. But I know many of you don't want, you just want to have a business that is self-sustaining and supports the ideal lifestyle that works for you and your family. And so one of the ways that you can get closer to that is by being vulnerable and getting comfortable with being vulnerable and sharing your story, sharing your insider tips and tricks and hacks and things, and why people should be working with you and why they should want to plan this trip as their next trip and all that. They want to connect with you. And that's, I feel like a lot of kind of like the guru-y type of people are experiencing a weirdness right now because many of them have not been authentic. They have not wanted to share their story. And so a lot of people are able to read right through them, that invisibility, because they know you are not authentic. You're not who you portray yourself to be. You are not a real person. This is who people in this day and age, this is who people want to do work with, especially small business owners. I love it. I know I've mentioned them before, the painting Instagram account that I follow because they have an art studio here in Orlando. I love following them on Instagram. They talk about and they showcase their dog Teddy all the time. They showcase their struggles as entrepreneurs. They're very motivating. So especially like as a fellow entrepreneur, to see and like be a little bit part of their entrepreneurial journey is really amazing to me. And I'm just rooting them on, and I want them to be successful. And I am a patron to their business because I'm able to almost share in the experience with them. I also love them sharing what they're doing and what their clients are doing at the studio and what they're painting and how they're painting it, because this gives me ideas for like future projects that I want to work on over there as well. And so none of this would have been possible if they weren't as present as they were on social media. And I'm not saying like you have to be always on, always showcasing things, but when you're able to, definitely share your story, share what's going on, share your wins, share your maybe not so wins as well. Share a little bit of whatever you feel comfortable with so that people can connect with you, because people want to root with you. And especially if you're following other small business owners, we all know what it's like. We all can relate to that small business struggle. So do not be afraid of sharing your face, sharing your voice, sharing whatever experiences it is that you are having. And I know a lot of this, again, comes down to confidence, and you just do it once. Do share one Instagram story and then let it go for a couple of days. And then come back again and then let it go for a couple days. I remember the first time that I started sharing my story more often, especially through stories, it was so awkward and I had no idea what I was doing. But I was like, okay, I've watched all these other stories from other people. I'm just going to say the thing and then see what happens. And then I kept doing it to be a little bit more comfortable each and every single time. I've gotten comfortable now that maybe my hair is done, maybe it's not done. Maybe I have makeup, maybe I don't have makeup. I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, it is more important for me to share the thing than keep it inside. And I'm not always great at sharing the things that I'm doing. I know I'm guilty of that as well. But I am also not afraid of putting myself out there. But that took time to do. So I also don't want you to think like, oh my gosh, I gotta be like Rita level. No, that's going to take time. So also be gentle and kind to yourself. And sometimes it takes you recording things a couple of times in order for it to be exactly what you're wanting it to be and what you're comfortable with putting out there. But please, 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 we've got to be visible, because that's, again, how people get to know you, your business, and what you do, and then in turn want to work with you. So there you have it. The 7 deadly sins of being a travel agency owner: silence, dependence, avoidance, generality, neglect, complacency, and invisibility. I'd love to hear from you. Were these spot on in your mind? Was there a deadly sin that I might be missing? Go ahead, click the link that says send Rita your thoughts, because I'd love to hear from you. Alrighty, everybody. Remember, again, I'll be back in the office on May 27th. So I will chat with you then. Have a great time, and I will talk to you soon, everybody. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today. Remember to check out the show notes for all relevant links and resources from today's show. See you next time.